This is CBC Here and Now.
I'm Anthony Germain, live in Grand Falls, Windsor at the site of a fatal police shooting. I've just received some more information about what happened here in the early hours. Stay tuned.
I caught my balance, I landed on my feet, and I hauled back and I punched them as hard as I could.
The RNC is looking for a man who approaches young women and girls.
A male attempted to physically force a female into his vehicle.
Coming up on Here and Now.
Right now this is about the workers, it's not about the oil companies.
There's worry and anxiety over the future of the Terra Nova.
The oil project is now in jeopardy.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. I'm Carolyn Stokes.
I'm Peter Cowan.
And I'm Anthony Germain here at the scene of what happened last night in Grand Falls, Windsor. Now, what's been in the news so far today is that there was a shooting here last night. It involved the RCMP, and when these incidents happen, that prompts a CERT investigation. That's a serious incident response team. So the police, even more tight-lipped on the details of what happened. Now, I've spoken to neighbors in all of the houses surrounding the house behind me, and I've also just spoken to a person who's a very good friend of the woman who lives in this house. This is a mother who has two children, and I've learned the following, that a man apparently, now this is from the woman, a man broke in through a rear window in the back. She suspected who it was and told her boyfriend to call 911 immediately. The man apparently entered the house. She claimed he was armed with a knife. Her boyfriend then decided to use a box spring mattress as a shield to fend off the attack. When the police arrived, the information is that they attempted to employ a taser. That did not work, and after that the shots were fired. That's what we know so far, but again, of course, details very sketchy on the first day of an incident like this. I mentioned I spoke to some neighbors. One of those neighbors who lives right across the street is a man named Byron Boyd.
So I was fast asleep and was wakened from my sleep. It was just around 3 a.m. or shortly after. I heard some loud voices outside and didn't really think anything of it, and then heard two pops, so I'm assuming those were gunshots. Got up to look out my window to see what was happening. Couldn't really see anything. A few minutes later, heard an ambulance roll up and got up and looked outside to just kind of see what the commotion was.
All right, so you took a look. What did you see when you came out your door?
I essentially saw the paramedics taking their gear and going inside. There were 4 cops on scene at that point, and essentially they were in the house for a couple of minutes, or probably a few minutes at that point. And the paramedics came back outside to get more gear, went back in. You kind of start to think that there might be something wrong, something serious happening.
Right, and how long did you keep your eyes on the situation?
I was up off and on tonight, so I watched this morning when the family who lives there left the home. They were cleared to leave, so that was after daylight. I saw when the paramedics were cleared to leave, they obviously had to wait for the police to clear the scene to get their equipment back out. Right. And then I watched them put the police tape up. That was just before the family left.
Now, some of your other neighbors have mentioned that they're pretty certain they heard a woman scream. What do we know about the family? Who did you see leave?
So as far as I know, living in the home, there was a man and woman and a teenage child and a smaller child.
Okay, and you saw them come out?
I did, yeah.
Okay. This seems like a very quiet neighborhood. What's it like here?
Yeah, no, other than a bit of traffic flowing through, because we're a bit of a downtown conduit here for Grand Falls, Windsor, but other than that, it is a fairly quiet neighborhood. We don't have much in the way of disturbances. There's not a whole lot that happens. Most of the people who live on the street are permanent residents, and you know, they live here with their families.
Now, Byron, as you were watching this unfold, what were you thinking?
Just concern. You know, I've seen the mother and the child out and about, and you know, you don't know what's happening when you see that kind of a scene. And I hadn't kind of seen all the occupants until a couple hours after the initial situation, so I wasn't sure what had actually happened.
Right. Well, Byron, difficult time to actually be here, but I appreciate you sharing what you witnessed. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
So as you heard Byron mention, he's certain that he heard 2 shots. Important to keep in mind, as I said before, we don't know many details, but we don't know if both shots came from the same weapon or were fired from more than one weapon. So many details to come as the CERT investigation unfolds. Now, a bit later in the program, I'm going to speak to the mayor of Grand Falls, Windsor, about the response to what's happened here in what is a peaceful place.
Thanks so much, Anthony. That's here now's Anthony Germain reporting live tonight. So now to a developing story in St. John's. Police are investigating several reports of a man trying to abduct women. One of those victims is speaking out tonight, telling us how she escaped. Here now's Amrika Wilhelm reports.
I shouldn't be scared to walk up the road. And I don't know how many other women are scared to walk up the road because of him.
Last Thursday, June 3rd, around midnight, Kate Rich says she was on her way home from a friend's when a man in a dark red car drove up to her and asked if she wanted a ride. When she said no, he got physical.
He got out of the car and he grabbed me. So my arms were down like this and we were facing each other and he grabbed around my arms. So we were face to face and I panicked and I kneed him. And I either hit him in this area or in his stomach and he dropped me. And, you know, lucky enough, I caught my balance, I landed on my feet and I hauled back and I punched him as hard as I could. Like when he left, his nose was bleeding.
She was walking on University Avenue and turned onto Patton Street. The man stopped next to her just when she had passed St. Andrew's School. Today, the RNC released a statement saying a man matching the same description also tried luring women in other areas of St. John's, downtown, and in the East End.
The first incident, the male operating a similar vehicle approached a female attempting to lure her into the vehicle. And that occurred in the East End of St. John's. And also a male made verbal comments to two youth attempting to lure the youths to his vehicle as well. And that occurred in the downtown area of St. John's.
Police are now looking for a man they describe as tall, thin, and black, driving a small red sedan. Kate Rich also says she thinks he had short, maybe buzzed hair, or might have been bald. Police say not to approach the man, but to call the RNC.
It's scary, it's frightening, and we share that that feeling, and we want to make sure that the community is alerted and parents are aware that we have received this information, because it's very important to our safety and health.
When he picked me up, I knew what I had to do to get away, but like my mind was just racing. I still can't really comprehend the whole situation as to like what his end result, what he wanted his end result to be, what he was trying to do.
Rich says police are now going back 6 months, searching to see if there are any other complaints that match what happened to her. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
All right, we're going to talk about it, and then hopefully we never have to talk about it again. But it snowed yesterday. I'm not sure if you went on social media, but everybody had pictures of it. So I took some of the better snaps that some of the viewers sent in just so you can see. But it was all over Clarenville, Carbonear, CBS, Brigus, Bay Roberts, Northwest Brook, as seen in this picture here. So I think this is my personal my favorite. It was sent in from, it's a before and after of Dildo. As you can see, a beautiful day. Not so beautiful on the other side. So we got a bit of snow. Probably time to move on with it. But I did want to share one last picture. This is from Margie Lane, and this is a beautiful. It's like a perfect snowman. I'm not saying that I support the Habs or whatnot. This isn't an endorsement for them. But in case you're wondering how much snow fell, I was able to find out how much snow fell in St. John's. So just take a look. If I can get that to work. There you go. St. John's Metro. 2.2 centimeters of snow in June.
A major iron ore company from Australia has announced ambitious plans to begin transitioning into the green economy. Fortescue has visited nearly 50 countries around the world looking for opportunities, and Labrador is one of the regions they're considering. Here now's Rob Antle reports.
For nearly 2 decades, the focus for Fortescue has been here, the Pilbara region of Western Australia. The company is one of the world's biggest producers of iron ore.
I choose change. I choose hydrogen. What do you choose?
But now a shift in focus is underway, as outlined in corporate promotional videos like this one. The company plans to become carbon neutral by 2030. Fortescue officials have sought out green energy opportunities globally, already signing deals to do feasibility studies in places like Brazil, Indonesia, and Afghanistan. The driving force behind the company is Andrew Forrest, the second richest man in Australia.
There are two possible futures ahead of us. Stop flying, driving, slash your standard of living, but you're still killing the planet. Or the alternative, beyond symbolic gestures and sacrifice, that demands far more courage, and that's change.
They're a player. They are very serious.
That company from down under also has interest up here, eyeing the potential of Labrador and Gull Island. Intriguing interest, but still early days at this point.
As it relates to Gull Island, it's perhaps the most prestigious undeveloped hydro asset in North America. So it fits into what they're wanting to do. It fits into what we would like to do eventually, and it was a great opportunity to meet. And since that time, they've been doing more of the homework that's necessary.
According to documents CBC obtained through accessed information, Fortescue has been corresponding with provincial government officials and Labrador Innu, including Innu Nation Grand Chief Etienne Rich. Fortescue declined interview requests, but in a statement said, "The Newfoundland and Labrador region and its renewable energy potential is an exciting opportunity for green hydrogen production. We are pleased with our engagement with local stakeholders on scoping studies to date and look forward to continued positive engagement." In the simplest terms, green hydrogen is made by splitting water into hydrogen and oxygen through a process called electrolysis to create clean hydrogen fuel. The problem is that it's been expensive to produce in big amounts and difficult to transport. But that may be changing. The potential for green hydrogen in this province was recently flagged in the Green Report, which advised the government here to develop a plan to take advantage of future opportunities. Rob Antle, CBC News, St. John's.
The hours are ticking ever closer to a decision on Terra Nova, and that has industry and political leaders scrambling to find a way to ensure the jobs and economic activity connected to one of this province's 4 mature oil fields are preserved. Here now's Terry Roberts reports.
I'm very concerned with how this will all end up.
The mayor of the province's capital city says municipal leaders throughout the Northeast Avalon Peninsula are feeling anxiety about whether there's a future for the Terra Nova.
I want to make sure that they're at their table. They're working through every possible scenario to find a solution to this. It's vitally important to our economy.
And this union leader says he has one focus.
Right now, this is about the workers. It's not about the oil companies. It's not about what government can do right now. It's about what government can do for the oil workers.
Negotiations on a deal to save the Terra Nova suffered a setback on Thursday.
We didn't feel it was fair to the people of this province to make this investment as it related to equity.
The provincial government has rejected an offer to become a partner in the oil field, saying a 15% ownership would be too risky. That has the opposition asking questions.
We've exposed that a few months ago, they were offering to buy a 15% equity share. Now they're saying that they put other things on the table. The equity share is off because it's too risky. The issue we've asked shows the analysis why that wasn't risky months ago.
We thought that the stake equity is there. I was told that.
Those questions are expected to be answered on Monday. Opposition politicians will receive a briefing from bureaucrats at 8:30 in the morning, followed by an emergency debate in the House of Assembly.
It may come to a point where it's not viable for some reason. We can't risk, an economic downturn for the rest of the province if it's not a good viable project.
With 85% of its reserves already produced, chances of accessing the remainder is contingent upon an expensive overhaul of the project. Not all of the oil companies involved are willing to spend the money. The provincial government says it's offering around $500 million in various supports, including more than $200 million in cash from an oil industry recovery fund created by the federal government. But if the Terra Nova fails, David Brazel says the money from that fund should be used to support the hundreds of workers who will lose their livelihoods.
It was built to enhance the oil industry and ensure that there's longevity. You can't have longevity if your employees are no longer in this province or their skill set are not being used.
The union says it's preparing to step up the pressure. It's planning a rally here in the shadow of Confederation Building on Monday morning, just a day before the oil companies are expected to announce a decision on whether the Terra Nova oil field will be resurrected and production resume, or whether it will be decommissioned and abandoned. Terry Roberts, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, Jack Harris says he won't run in the next election. He's the NDP MP in St. John's East. Harris was first elected as an MP in 1987 before being the provincial party leader for more than a decade. He's 72 years old. In other news, Mi'kmaq chiefs and elders, along with provincial and federal government officials, raised the Mi'kmaq Grand Council flag outside Grenfell campus today. The flag will be a permanent fixture on campus and at Corner Brook City Hall to mark the land as traditional Mi'kmaq territory. At the ceremony, many spoke about the significance of this flag, how it's a reminder of the past and all the education yet to come to better understand Indigenous peoples' connection to the area.
This flag is so important because it represents our culture, it represents our history, and it represents the people that are here on this nation and in the Grenfell University campus. It means a lot, and it's so respectful and so honorful. As a student, it means I can come to campus every day and be proud of my culture and be proud to show who I am and what I represent and the history of this people here.
The Premier is weighing in on an ultimatum the Happy Valley Goose Bay Town Council delivered last night in a video message.
Daily, our seniors, our children witness illegal activities such as public drunkenness and deplorable acts, sexual acts, rape.
Council is calling it a crisis situation. For years, homeless and transient people have set up makeshift camps, and for years the town says their provincial and federal requests for extra resources and help haven't been heard. So the council says it's going to start enforcing its own rules and sending governments the bill. It's planning 24-hour security patrols and brush cutting. But these are measures many critics say miss the point. Instead of more patrols, mental health and addictions help is needed. The Premier addressed the council's position this afternoon.
The complexities are deep, they're intergenerational. There's no easy fix. So what we have committed to do and committed in the fall to do is advance action towards fixing and trying to come to solutions collectively. And we recognize that there is no one solution, but we've put in place different measures to try to address this.
Public Health says there are 3 new cases of COVID-19 in the province today. One is in the Central Health region, a contact of a previous case, and there are 2 cases in the Western region. One is part of the cluster, the other is not. There are 54 active cases of COVID-19 in the province right now. There's also an alert level change on the West Coast. The Western region is returning to alert level 2 as of midnight. It had been in alert level 4 during a recent outbreak. Meanwhile, in Gander, St. Paul's Intermediate School has reopened after being closed for 2 days. But a number of teachers called in sick or are in self-isolation, so the school district says it sent some employees to the school to help out. The school had been closed for 2 days as officials carried out contact tracing and COVID-19 testing. Well, check out this video of young Emily Galliot getting up close and personal with some capelin that started rolling in Trout River on the province's west coast.
Emily was enjoying a nice evening with the capelin, and Jeremy will be here after the break, so we'll find out what's in store for the weekend.
This weather update is brought to you by Newfoundland and Labrador Tourism. It's time to explore the great wide open. Plan your trip at yourbackyardbeckons.ca.
Jeremy's here with the weekend weather, and we won't talk about the snow anymore, like
We're not
you
allowed
said.
to. We're
Yeah,
done with it.
It's over. But there are still some cold temperatures coming.
Yeah, you know, thanks for ruining it. Just kidding, just kidding. That's so mean of me. I apologize for that. I shouldn't have said that. That was a dumb joke. Anyways, she's not wrong. There are cold temperatures because there's a frost advisory for like most of the island of Newfoundland. So I couldn't bring up a map because I'm terrible at it. But anyway, so if you come across from like St. John's, you know, up into Gander and then across over to Cornerbrook and Deer Lake and then down. So basically everything that's not the Northern Peninsula, more or less, is under a frost advisory for tonight. The temperatures will drop. So it's just a warning they put out. The temperatures are not going to get too cold, but something to think about if you have plants outside. So how hot was today? Not hot at all, but it didn't snow, so it's always a plus. A lot of 13s there, 11. I guess the high was 15 there in Happy Valley Goose Bay. And the current temperatures looking pretty much the same. A lot chillier in the city of St. John's today. I noticed the wind was a bit colder. Sun came out at the end of the day, which was always a plus. But you can see that the temperatures are a little bit lower than they should be seasonally. It's around, I think, between 14 and 17 on the island. But there is some weather moving in. I know we said we weren't going to talk about snow, but we might have to. So here's the future tracker for tonight that started at about 23 minutes ago. So I want you to keep an eye just by the HVGB, because what's going to happen tonight is there's a chance, and you can see it coming down here now, just right up here, wherever it is. So there's a chance that there could be some snow tonight and into tomorrow. It's just a chance of flurries. You're looking at like Nain, Makovic, Postville. I'm not sure about Hopedale. I don't think so. But then it could move down into central Labrador as well. But for the island tonight, we're looking at about an average of 6. For the island, you can see there's not much, a little bit of showers in Marystown and St. Anthony, but otherwise it's looking like a nice evening. And then as I mentioned, if you look up into Labrador, you can see the flurries icon there at Labrador City and Nain. Again, it's not going to be much accumulation. Now, I did say that about the snowfall in St. John's, and we got 2.2 centimeters. So maybe I'm wrong, but hopefully, for your sake, I hope not. The folks at Environment Canada don't believe that there will be accumulation, but that'll continue on into tomorrow. And you can see that. So there it is Saturday morning. You can see the blue there. I zoomed in a bit. So it's coming all the way. Oh my God, I'm still terrible at this. Forget about it. So you can see the blue coming across Happy Valley Goose Bay to Labrador City. So there will be a chance of some snow there. Now the island, Saturday is going to be tricky. If you look down towards the west coast and the southwest coast, there is a chance that there could be not significant rainfall, but a little bit of rainfall. There could be as much as 10 millimeters along the west coast and parts of the southwest coast, and you can see there the future tracker will bring it up. So it's just going to hang around there. So that's going to last from like Saturday into Monday. But who cares about Monday when we're talking about Saturday? So it's going to be sunny. There's a few showers in Bonavista, Vista, but that's going to clear up in the morning and the sun should break out. But it looks like a pretty sunny day for most of the island. Again, Twillingate's the same as Bonavista, Vista, showers, but that's going to end hopefully in the morning. And the same with Grand Falls, Windsor. And you're sitting at some nice temperatures. Look, really, I don't know why it does it on the west coast. I must have shagged that up. I apologize to people who live there. But it's going to be nice. Trust me. So up into a little bit chillier as you move up the Northern Peninsula and into Mary's Harbour and Cartwright. But chance of rain there, but again, not a significant amount of precipitation in millimeters of rain, and definitely, hopefully not, but you can see there Churchill Falls, Labrador City, and Nain, and Makovic all have the chance of showers mixing with flurries, which could continue into tomorrow. Temperatures looking pretty low, like 1 in Makovic, 5 Nain, 8 in Labrador City. So all in all, it's shaping up to be a pretty good weekend here on the island and in parts of Labrador. So your best bet, I guess, is to hope that you don't get a lot of snow. And if the sun does come out, I think my advice, and you don't need to take it, is probably get out and enjoy it while you can. I'll have more on the long-range forecast coming up later in the show.
A police killing here in Grand Falls, Windsor will be the subject of an extended investigation. After the break, we'll speak with the mayor of Grand Falls, Windsor.
Back to tonight's top story. The province's serious incident response team has been called in to investigate a police-involved shooting in Grand Falls, Windsor. It happened early this morning. Anthony is in Grand Falls, Windsor tonight and is live at the scene. So Anthony, what more can you tell us?
Well, Karen, let's recap what we learned late today about what happened here yesterday. So we know now that a man appears to have broken in through the back, that he's a person who was known to a woman who lived in this house, that she told her boyfriend to call 911 immediately, and then there was some kind of confrontation involving a knife and possibly a box spring mattress to fend off an attack. So the police were called here and they responded. We know, according to neighbors, that 2 shots were fired. Who fired what? Of course, we don't know much more than that. So details slowly coming out about what happened here. And as you mentioned, there's a certain investigation, so it's going to take some time before we get more details about exactly what happened here. Nonetheless, for a community like Grand Falls, Windsor, this is a major story, a serious, tragic story, and I decided to talk to the mayor of this community, Barry Manuel.
Well, I guess first and foremost, our hearts are with the deceased and the people involved and their families. It's a tragic event and quite shocking, really. Right now, obviously, with the investigation ongoing, there's not much I can say other than I know it was a contained incident, and we've been in touch with the RCMP, so there's no threat to public safety.
All right, so when the RCMP tells you it's contained, there's no reason for other people in Grand Falls, Windsor to be concerned?
Exactly.
This seems like a rare kind of incident for a municipality of this size?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been living here, born and raised my whole life, some 50 years now, so it's definitely an anomaly in our community and something that has happened rarely, if at all. So for people to be top of mind in conversation today, obviously in town, and something that is a uncommon occurrence, and obviously it's something that we wish didn't happen, but unfortunately it is what it is right now.
Right. So when did you learn about this, and as a municipal leader, how were you drawn into whatever happens when something like this unfortunately occurs?
I received a text message this morning. There was a news story out at that point that something had happened overnight. So our staff, town manager, reached out to the RCMP, and again, the details we were given were that the investigation's ongoing. It was a contained incident, so public safety wasn't in jeopardy. And then, people we were talking to, of course, this has been the topic of conversation today. So I also just want to assure the public that, this is no concern to them. It's an unfortunate, tragic incident, and again, our hearts go out to the people involved and the families.
Now, we've heard from neighbors, we've just heard from the mayor, but one important aspect to what's happened here in Grand Falls, Windsor is, of course, the police. These aren't the movies. Some police officer, at least one, has to deal with whatever happened last night, and it'll be a while until we know much more on that angle of the story. Reporting live from Grand Falls, Windsor for Here and Now, I'm Anthony Germain.
They made the right decision.
I can't agree that this was a good decision. I can't agree that it's a bad decision.
The province won't buy into the Terra Nova project. Should government be investing in oil? Our political veterans are here with their insights. That's up next. This week, the province said no to buying part of the Terra Nova oil project. Even with $500 million in cash and royalty cuts on the table, the oil companies running the project wanted more, the province to buy a stake, and that's where Andrew Parsons draws the line.
We, as a government and a province, have a duty to all residents, and given our fiscal situations, we cannot support this project at all costs.
Now, the oil companies are warning the project could be dead without that equity stake, and with it, 1,000 jobs. Time to get our political veterans to weigh in. Jerry Rogers is a former NDP leader. Colin Holloway, a former Liberal MHA. Sandy Collins is a former PC cabinet minister. So, Jerry, I want to start with you. Did the government make the right decision here?
Absolutely, Peter. I think that they made the right decision. I'm relieved by their decision, although I know that the ramifications for workers and communities and spin-off businesses that they can be severe in the short term. But you know, global market indicators have been saying for years that the oil industry is fading out. And we know that. And energy policymakers around the world have been saying the same thing. Also, the risks far outweigh, as the minister has identified, the risks far outweigh potential benefits. And it's much too risky for the province right now. The unfortunate thing is that we haven't seen a plan for a just transition for the workers. And this has been discussed by the NDP, by environmentalists, by academics in this area, and again with global energy leaders saying that these transitions have to happen, that the oil industry is winding down, and the province has been so slow, so very slow to respond to that. And so we're really up against the wall right now. It didn't have to be this way. There was time to really plan for a just transition for our workers. And that's what needs to happen now. We're in a crisis situation right now in terms of workers who are in the oil industry. And they're not oil and gas workers. There are workers who work in the oil and gas industry. And we need a transition. We need a plan to help them to retrain because they're highly skilled. And we can't afford to lose these really highly skilled workers, and it's owed to them to help them transition and retrain.
Now, certainly the opposition took a little different take this week in question period. Here is how the PC leader framed the issue in question period yesterday.
Government should be keeping oil production in the province and growing our industry, not watching it die. Is the Premier willing to admit that today's news is his failure?
Okay, Sandy, if this project doesn't go ahead, is it fair to blame the government for this?
Well, just to get back to something Jerry said, respectfully, I can't agree that this was a good decision. I can't agree that's a bad decision because I don't think we, or at least the opposition parties, have the information on what that decision was based on. What we do know is that it was only a short time ago, 4 months ago, I think, there was discussions about government being interested in a 15% stake. Now you fast forward to today, everything's off the table when the only thing that we can see from the outside looking in, the only thing that has changed is that oil has gone up 26%. So the mixed messages, I'm not sure. I don't know if this is more about posturing or if it's about something just financial. I'm not sure, but I wish government would just come out and say what it is. I respect and I appreciate the fact they want to be prudent with tax dollars. Again, I don't know if it's a good decision. What they've done, but I wish they would tell us more information. They would disclose more information so we know what that decision is based on. Because what I'm looking at is 1,000 people that are involved in that industry, which through spin-offs, through the multipliers as was identified in the Green Report, you're looking at 5,000 jobs. And I'm sure everyone on this panel can relate to knowing people firsthand that work either on the Terra Nova platform, on the FPSO, or whether it's working in the service sector. So this is too important to let this just fall by the wayside. If this was the auto industry in Ontario, if it was the aerospace industry in Quebec, more would be said. Our federal MPs should be talking. They're all on the missing list, so I don't know what their thoughts are. But I think the industry is too important to fail without giving it our every best effort. I don't think that's been done.
But isn't $500 million worth of royalty, and there's $200 million in direct cash that has been put on the table here, isn't that already a lot of incentive?
I don't know, because some of those numbers are not actually, it's not taxpayers' money that they're giving. Some of that, I think it's 205 million, is from the federal fund, and then there's not direct cash, it's through royalties and whatnot, and some tax reductions. However, if the royalties that we're going to reap as a benefit from this project being extended 10 years are greater than what we're going to give up, it's simple math. So again, I don't think those numbers can be just taken black or white. And again, back to my earlier point, I think government, it's incumbent on them to clarify those numbers and to make sure all the information's on the table.
Now, the federal government invested in Hibernia in order to save it back when it was just in development. That's paid back handsomely with lots of royalties. The flip side, though, the Alberta government bought into the Keystone XL pipeline, and since that project has been scrapped, it's now out $1.3 billion. So, Colin, I want you to weigh in here. Should governments be taking these sorts of risks in the oil business?
I don't think so. And now, notwithstanding or due respect to my colleague, when the previous administration decided that it was a good idea to buy interest into these oil projects, and of course it paid off for the first number of years. I mean, we hit peak royalties back 2007, 2008. Today, we know that this particular project was estimated to be, 15, 17 years in terms of its lifespan. We're beyond that now. There are some that are saying there's another 10 years, and so there's more life for these thousands of jobs. But I think back to my time in office. We talked about Muskrat Falls, and one of the things that really came up in the discussion was about the return to Treasury. So if we're going to make investments, what taxes are going to come back from personal income tax, corporate income tax, spin-offs, as Sandy says, those other jobs that are created. And that's part of an analysis that the bureaucracy would have brought forward to the Premier and to Cabinet and to caucuses, to say, well, this is a good investment. Back with the Muskrat Falls project, we were told, okay, there's 4,800 jobs up there. They're making good money. They're in rural communities. They're stimulating rural economy. In this case, and I paid particular attention to what Andrew Parsons said around the decommissioning costs. And it got me to the point of thinking about Abitibi, so, we took Abitibi and Grand Falls, and what did we learn? Oh my God, there was a big noose around the province's neck in terms of, decommissioning and cleaning up the site and all that. It's the same kind of scenario here when we think about this particular oil project, that, the decommissioning cost has to be weighed into the return to Treasury. We've got a long-term liability here. We've got $47 billion long-term liability. Do we want to add to that by decommissioning costs, by saying, yes, we're going to take an extra 15% equity stake? I think it's the right decision, and I don't think we want to repeat what's happening in Alberta right now.
Well, an interesting discussion. Thanks so much, all three of you, for joining us.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Well, for many right now, it's difficult to contemplate the price of gas without thinking of the gas price guru, George Murphy. His funeral is scheduled for tomorrow in St. John's. It's invite only due to COVID-19 capacity restrictions, but the service will be live streamed. Murphy died suddenly last weekend. He was 58 and known for his volunteer work providing weekly predictions on the rise and fall of gas prices. He drove a taxi for years before entering provincial politics and later returned to the taxi industry after serving as the MHA for St. John's East. There has been an outpouring since his death, and on Wednesday he was recognized by politicians at the House of Commons.
Rise today to pay tribute to the life of George Murphy, who passed away suddenly at the young age of 58 this past weekend. Every Newfoundlander and Labradorian knew George Murphy. He had a unique personality with a contagious smile and always a story to tell. George will be remembered as a loving husband to his wife Joy, a wonderful father and grandfather. He was generous, a passionate man, and above all else, a gentle soul. George, you were taken from us way too soon. Your legacy will live on. Rest easy, my friend.
How can you tell me it's over?
Time to look at who's celebrating this week. Happy 67th wedding anniversary to Charlie and Alvina Easton of Clarenville. Happy 57th anniversary to George and Mary Bursey of St. John's. Anniversary greetings going out to Derek and Shirley Carter of Deer Lake, who celebrated 56 years of marriage. Congratulations to Ralph and Ruby LeDrew of Kelligrews on being married for 60 years. It's also a 60th anniversary for Vince and Mary Power of Corner Brook.
50th anniversary greetings going out to Peggy and Aaron Bennett of Kippens. Happy 65th anniversary to Ben and Elsie Hiscock. Joe and Bobby Coombs from St. John celebrated their 53rd anniversary this week. Lewis and Nellie Chalk of Happy Valley Goose Bay are celebrating their 58th anniversary. Happy 51st anniversary to Lindsay and Gladys Bungay of Grand Bank.
Des and Marion Mallows of Gander will be married 67 years tomorrow. Happy 53rd wedding anniversary going out to Harold and Marie Pennell from Trepassey. They now live in Strathroy, Ontario. Happy 50th anniversary to Derek and Golda Parsons of Deer Lake. It's also a 50th anniversary for Carl and Selma Strangemore of St. Anthony. Artland and Jean Stuckey are celebrating their 50th anniversary. They live in Twillingate.
Happy 50th anniversary to Baxter and Triffy Goulding. They're from Gambo and now live in Gander. Happy 51st wedding anniversary to Bill and Jean Emberley of Buckins. Happy 50th anniversary to Marjorie and Bob Gray. And the next one is a big one. Happy 70th anniversary to George and Gloria Blunden of Gander.
Now let's take a look at some birthdays. Happy 92nd birthday to Elizabeth Wiseman, who lives in Clarenville. Happy 90th birthday to Gordon Budgell of Kings Point. Happy 93rd birthday to Dorothy Malloy, formerly of John DeBay, now living in Grand Bank. Thelma Adams of Milton is celebrating her 90th birthday. And happy birthday to Mildred Kennedy, who is celebrating her 95th birthday.
Happy 96th birthday to Rita Courtney, still living in her own home, and her family calls her the matriarch of Burgeo. Happy birthday to Don Boone of Bishop's Falls, now living in Grand Falls, Windsor. He celebrated his 90th birthday this week. Happy 95th birthday going out to Becky Billard of Isle of Mort. Happy 90th birthday to Stanley West of Bay Largent, Fortune Bay, now living in St. Lawrence. Happy birthday to Marjorie Young, who turns 91 today. She lives in Grand Falls, Windsor.
It's a 99th birthday for Minnie McDonald from Collinette, now living in St. John's. Happy 95th birthday to Nora Penny of Grand Falls, Windsor. Nora's active, enjoys quilting, knitting, and playing Scrabble on her iPad. Happy 93rd birthday to Nellie Snow from Topsail. And finally, birthday greetings going out to Rowena Mercer of Grand Falls, Windsor, celebrating her 96th birthday this weekend.
And congratulations once again to everyone celebrating, and more celebrations to come. Indigenous Peoples Day is later this month.
Yeah, for Avery Anderson, that means another chance to dance is just around the corner. She first learned how to jingle dress dance at Indigenous Peoples Day ceremony. She shared her love of the tradition with First Light Friendship Center and the National Center for Collaboration in Indigenous Education as part of their digital storytelling project. Take a look.
Dancing to the drum, I'm dancing to the drum.
Hi, my name is Avery Anderson and I'm 7 years old. I'm from Nain, Labrador. I live in St. John's with my mom, my dad, and my cat, Jack. My mom is Zinook and my dad is Mi'kmaq. I'm gonna tell a story about my first time jingle just dancing. The first time I did jingle just dancing was National Indigenous Peoples Day. At a powwow, I met JC and Mary Beth, and they taught me how to jingle just dance. To jingle just dance, you have to use your feet, put your hands on your hips and bounce on your tippy toes. At the end, we did a special dance with Mary, Beth, and JC, and I won a prize. It's really fun to jingle just dance, and I like it because I get to meet new friends. I like dancing in the power in Con River, and I go every year with my dad. I want to keep Chico Just Dancing forever.
So nice. Great job, Avery.
She was adorable.
Adorable, yes, for sure. And
Is the forecast adorable?
You tell us.
No, it's not.
It's the weekend.
It's the weekend, so you don't have to go to work, but is it going to be nice? Well, that's not fair to say. As somebody who worked the weekends for a long time, a lot of people do have to work, so I retract that statement. So look ahead. What is it going to look like on Sunday? Here it is. So it's there's going to be a little bit of sun down in Marystown and in Labrador City, a little bit, but everybody else is probably going to see patches of rain, pockets of rain, I guess the meteorologists would say. I'm not sure what the technical term is. So basically, not a lot of accumulation, but you will see some rain falling. So you're probably not a great day to get outside, not work on your tan, but maybe not get some gardening done. But anyways, it'll be, at least it won't be snowing. I guess that's the worst line to say. At least it won't be snowing. Now, as for Monday, it's going to start to brighten up. As you can see, there's a bit of cloud cover here over St. John's, and that can be seen Marystown, Gander, Grand Falls, Corner Brook, St. Anthony, almost all across the province, to be honest, with the exception of Port aux Basques and Labrador City. So basically that means that you'll see there will be a little bit of cloud cover, but the sun is going to break through, which is always a good thing when you're starting off the week on a Monday. So then as we move into the 5-day forecast, this is what we're looking at for the weekend here in the city of St. John's. The best day to get out is going to be Saturday. And as I said before, and you can take my advice or you can not take my advice, you might want to get outside and enjoy it because you can see the rain is going to come in on Sunday and then another troughed pocket. There could be a chance of rain on Wednesday, but Ashley will be back on Monday and she can explain that in more detail. Now as we move over to, I ruined it. Phew, I got it back. So there we go. Can't press the wrong button. Sorry about that. Minor heart attack for me. Anyways, so as you look in Central, it's going to be warm on the weekend, but there is going to be rain. But on Monday, the sun will come up. But then you're looking at sort of a wet start to the week there as well. But look at that, 20 degrees on Monday and Tuesday. Can't really complain about that. And then as we move across to the West Coast, a little bit of rain falling on Saturday, but then the sun will come out Sunday and Monday. But the 19 degrees, that's a little bit above seasonal, which is always a pleasure to see. And then as we move up there into Labrador, into eastern Labrador, there's going to get a little bit of rain. But I was looking at this, I noticed this earlier. Like Happy Valley Goose Bay is looking at 23 degrees on Tuesday. So that could be a beautiful day up there in eastern Labrador there in Happy Valley Goose Bay. And if we take a quick look at the west, there's a little bit of snow in the forecast for Saturday. And there is a frosted, no, it's not a frosted visor. So it's going to be a little bit chilly in Labrador overnight, as you can see there. But it's shaping up to be not a great week, but not a bad week. Probably a better week than I had, but who's to say? So that's what we're looking at for the long-range forecast. So what we're going to move to next, here's something that we can hopefully all look forward to. This is sent in by Michael Parsons. He took this earlier in the week, and this is kayaking on Little Bay Islands.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Certainly is.
Clear water.
Now, not as beautiful as my work this week.
How do you feel?
I felt like I did an adequate job.
You did a great job.
Wow,
Ashley is back on Monday, but yeah, it was
well,
really nice having you here.
It was really nice to be here, and I really appreciated the chance to do this. And thanks so much. Like she said, Ashley will be back, Anthony will be back, Peter will be back, no Carolyn and I.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Good night.